On the same vein of talking about websites, this is what I do every day for work. There's a great library called Flask. Now, Flask allows you to write a website in Python, a web server. You can make web pages, and you can spin it up really easily. And I love Flask because it's very mature, it's very well documented. Every single thing I've ever got stuck with, there's an answer for on Stack Overflow, or there's a great community I can go ask about. And at the very core of it, if you want to whip something up really quickly, it is so simple. So you can whip up an entire website that responds with information in less than 10 lines. So let's look at a demo of that. I can't demo that on the other system, so I've got a Python thing here. So give me a sec to just run one of my codes. Cool. So that's going to be unreadable, isn't it? Select font. No. Cool. So what I've done there is written a whole web server. It doesn't do much. When you open up the URL, it just says hello world. But I can run this, and I've just run it. I've gone from Flask, import Flask. Flask is a website object. And then I can make an app, which is Flask with the name of the current project. That's not important. And then I've just said that when the route is just empty, a /, I want to return to the user hello world. And then if this is my main project, run it. So if I open back up to my browser, I should be able to, so if I open up a tab and I go to localhost 5000, which is the port it's running on, I should see hello world. Everybody see that? So in a tiny amount of code, I've managed to spin up a web server that can say that to me. That's pretty contrived, and no one's ever going to pay you to make a website that just says hello world. But what you can do is you can add more and more routes to it, and you can get more and more complicated. So I'm just going to cancel that one, and I'm going to run a more complex example. So using that same example from before, where I had the course data, I can combine everything we've seen so far, and I can go and I can do this. So I can write a simple Python program that imports Flask and requests. It's going to make a new app. If I go to the home page, it's going to tell me I should add a course code to the URL. Or if I go to a course code, it's going to run this function with that course code. I'm going to do the same thing as before. I'm going to make a GET request to that API. And I'm going to print out all the assessment items for that course. So if I go and minimize that and go back to my browser, and I refresh this page now, it should tell me I need to add a course code to the URL to see assessment items. So one we're all familiar with is CSSE 1001. If I load that, it should send off a request and then combine that result into a HTML page and send that back to me. So I can see that these are the assessment items for CSSE 1001 this semester. Does anyone else have another code to make sure I didn't, fake all this? Anybody? Econ 1010? I hear Econ 1010. Econ 1010. There we go. So that's what Econ 1010 is doing this semester, the poor buggers. Don't take Econ 1010. Yeah. So by using those, really just two libraries, because JSON's more of a format I just wanted to explain, by using two libraries, I've made a simple website where you can go in and you could see data about your courses by accessing that data from a third-party service. Obviously, there's a lot you could do there. You could add HTML, you could add CSS, you could make it look pretty, you could add an actual search box instead of typing into the URL yourself. But that is all just designed. From a Python point of view and from your coding point of view, what you've got there in 20 lines is a functioning website that is communicating with other websites. And that's the cool thing I'm trying to get across, is that you don't need to come up with these huge demos that are huge and complex, and you don't need to worry too much about the basic function, the core functionality down in the libraries themselves. If you just make use of them and start out simple, you can come up with really, really simple demos, and you can just keep adding and adding, and give that a month of just tinkering with it, and I could turn that into a huge website that gives me information about my courses. And that would be a really cool project. All right, so going back to our slides, if I can ever navigate this. So I can now show you that Flask has the same docs. Their website is really, really good. It is. It's exactly the same as the requests one. They understand that a lot of people who are coming into this kind of thing just want to make cool stuff. They may not be 10 years of Python experience. They just want to make a cool website. And they want to put something on there, or they've got a great idea and they want to make it happen. And their docs is really good at that. It starts out really simple, how to do an example like this that just says hello world, then how to add more stuff to it. And you just keep adding and adding, and the next thing you know, you've got a huge functioning program that does something really, really interesting.